Welcome to the Toronto Sports Rush channel, brought to you by the Bet Rivers Network. I'm Kyle. This is Pierre McGuire. We are joining you immediately following the Toronto Maple Leafs overtime victory over the St. Louis Blues. Pierre, let's start with the positives. They put 2 points on the board tonight when they desperately needed them most.
They really did. And one of the biggest things, Kyle, is how hard they worked to get those 2 points. I'm watching the game and I'm saying, okay, not a lot of artistic impression. Defense is having a tough time moving the puck. There's not a lot of things that look pretty. But you know what's really stood out to me? The heart, the desire, and the goaltending of Joe Woll. I thought Joseph Woll played really well for Toronto, especially at key times in the game, and he kept them in it when it looked like they were about to falter. So I have a lot of respect for the grit and the internal drive that the team had tonight.
Yeah, let's start with Woll then. He's 2 games into his season now, and he looks like exactly the Joseph Woll that left the ice last season. He's been playing very, very well. He's been making the big saves for this team and keeping them in the game, something the Leafs have sorely missed between the pipes this season so far.
No question. Consistency in goal is a big problem for them right now. If they can get it back in the rails, that's going to be really positive for them. I think the biggest thing, he looks big, he looks imposing, he looks comfortable, he looks confident. I think that's a positive thing for the Leafs. And if they can get at that internal competition between Woll and Stolarz, when Stolarz comes back, that just makes everybody better.
Yeah, they were arguably the best duo in the NHL last year. And that's, maybe Stolarz was kind of collapsing a little bit under the pressure. He hadn't had his A game all season long, but knowing that Robin or Batman, depending on how you look at it, is back in the superhero layer, it's just these little things. It seems like what's wrong with his team is a whole bunch of little things, but let's stay with the positive right now. John Tavares with a tremendous grit play, taking on 3 guys in the corner, Peleing the puck out into the center of the ice, leading to the winning goal. That was a fun play, and it was John Tavares 101.
It was John Tavares to Morgan Rielly to Willie Nylander to the back of the net with some real slickness from Slick Willie, no pun intended. But you're so spot on, Kyle. When you talk about what John Tavares does, he engages with all the different defenders, and obviously for St. Louis, it hasn't been a great year, especially defensively, but you see the communication between John and Morgan Rielly. John kicks the puck out with his free foot. I think it was his right skate, actually, to push the puck back. And then it's a beautiful read by Morgan getting the puck over to Willie, and Willie does a fantastic job getting it to the back of the net past Jordan Binnington.
And if a team's going to climb out of the kind of hole, they put an end to a 5-game losing streak tonight. These are the names you want to see on the score sheet. You need your big guys to make big plays, to make big stops in big moments. And while this team is sort of at the bottom, not sort of, completely at the bottom of the conference right now, this is how you crawl out from that.
Great point. One other thing that I saw at the end of regulation, when you needed to have some bigger bodies on the ice to defend the lead, I saw Dakota Joshua out there chipping a puck in deep. I saw Stevie Lorentz, who scored a great goal tonight, chipping a puck out of the zone. I saw Callie Yarncroke when he had to be out there. I saw the flexibility of Bobby McMahon playing on 3 different lines tonight. It was amazing to watch. So there was so much good in this game for Toronto to get it back on the rails. They've got a game coming up on Thursday against Columbus. Columbus played last night against Montreal. They're getting beat tonight in Winnipeg. So there could be some fatigue there. Then you start to build some momentum if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. I saw far more positive than negative. The constructive criticism is, Kyle, they just don't move the puck easily out of their own zone to their forwards, and it makes it a hard game for the forwards to play.
I'm going to read a quote from a great man I know, Pierre. It says, "They make it such a hard game because they do not have elite puck movers on defense. Missing the net does not help either." That is from one Pierre McGuire earlier this evening via text message to myself.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, I loved exchanging these ideas with you over the course of the game. I really enjoy it. I love our relationship and working with you. But the other part, Kyle, is I wish they could add one more top-end puck mover. Just not 10, just one more, because it would make it such an more easy game for Morgan. It'd make it a more easy game for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and it'd take a lot of duress off of Simon Benoit. Simon's playing out of character right now. He's trying to do too much offensively, and I think that hurts his defensive game.
Pierre, I love what you said there. I had a conversation with Dan Rosen from
Yeah.
NHL.com, one of their senior writers, the writers this morning, and we were kind of talking about how, with guys out of the lineup with injuries, with Matthews gone, with Marner gone forever, there's a lot of guys that might just be pressing too much right now. And as you say, one more elite puck mover. They don't need more goal scorers. They need someone to move the puck and facilitate plays. That might be the only piece of the recipe missing right now, as the rest of the things may or may not be coming together.
No, I agree. I think it's fair. The other bright spot, and I'm remiss, this is my fault. Jacob Quillen, who I've known for a long time as a player, played for the Penticton Vees. He's from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, went to Quinnipiac University, won a national championship. He looked really good tonight. I know he didn't get extended minutes. His speed was omnipresent. His forechecking ability, his hitting was clearly defined. But I thought he had one chance to score in the third or in the second period, and he decided to try to pass the puck up. Should have put the puck on goal. But outside of that, I thought that was like found money tonight. I thought Quillen played really well. And Bobby McMahon, I thought, played really well. And
Very
I
well.
thought Craig Berube identified these things early in the game, and that was a positive as well for Toronto.
Another positive I noticed, Pierre, that I want to point out, a very specific play right near the end of the first period. Max Domi went in alone with some great stick work, great footwork to get between the defenders, and drew the 4-minute penalty when he took the high stick and his lip was bleeding. But he didn't score on that play, but he put them on a power play for 4 minutes. But it was about the confidence and grit he showed getting to the net on that play. That was, to me, such a good sign. They need more of that from guys. Play your game, settle down, and trust your talents.
Especially Max, because if they don't have Austin Matthews for a while, and Johnny Tavares is going to be logging a lot of minutes. We saw that again tonight. Look at how many big faceoffs he took down the stretch. And I know in one game it's not a lot, but when it's 3 games and 4 nights and you're taking, let's say, 20 to 25 faceoffs and you're grinding every single faceoff to try to win it, it breaks you down. It's a hard thing to do. So Max has to be one of those guys. That's why I think Jacob Quillen's got to be one of those guys. That's why I was happy to see Stevie Lorentz step up in the center ice position tonight. So more good than bad, but you're spot on about Max. That was a fearless, smart, creative play. Tucker comes in with the high stick, cuts him for 4 minutes. I know they didn't score on a power play, but they got some momentum out of that, which was really important.
And he's the right guy to do it because he really doesn't have many teeth left at this point. But I want to stick with Tavares again for a second. You just brought up something pretty important because in the playoffs last year, the speculation was that he had maybe just run out of gas a little bit. Now we know he's over 20 minutes a night, every night. He's 20 minutes going to the third period, and he plays a ton of the overtime tonight. Of course, he had a grit play that led to it, but we're 20 games into the season. If these guys don't come back from injury and John Tavares continues to log this many minutes in this key role for this team, he might fade again down the stretch. He's not a spring chicken.
It's very fair to say, and that's not a knock on John at all. No, it's not. It's just a lot of miles on an unbelievably athletic body. The one thing I also think is important, Scott Laughton keeps being left out of these discussions. I really felt, Kyle, if Scott Laughton had stayed healthy from the start of the year, it would have fixed a lot of what ails Toronto in terms of slotting down the middle and energy on the forecheck and face-off play. They get him back, and it sounds like he's going to be back sooner rather than later. That makes a big difference too. So I know people are down and out on this team. I wasn't thrilled about some of the things I saw, but tonight I liked the grit factor. I liked to compete. I liked the new guys coming in the lineup. And I thought Johnny Tavares made some huge plays, but the biggest one, Joseph Woll. If they get stability in goal, they can overcome a lot of these injuries for a while.
I think it does start between the pipes and everything moves out from there, Pierre. You can't move the puck up ice if it's in the back of your net and being moved to center for another draw. The thing is with this team, we were pretty high on them coming to the season, and frankly, we were wrong. But we were wrong for reasons that are correctable. And one of the things that's not as predictable right now is they have been hit by the injury bug here. We saw Matthew Knies get scratched right before puck drop tonight. We don't know what's going on with him, to my knowledge. I didn't check Twitter before we went live here, but I don't think we know. Austin Matthews skated this morning, good sign, but we don't know if he's well. We don't know if he's rushing back. Stolarz is out. There's just Laughton's out. Like, there's just this pile-on of injuries, and it's making it very difficult to correct the problems when some of your key pieces are not on the ice.
Yeah, and the power play's not functioning. And I know they had and I know Mark Savard was a great power play player, and I know he's coached some good power plays. They got to get the power play going.
Yeah.
One of the ways of overcoming all these injuries, you're not going to get a lot of 5-on-5 goals. You saw what kind of dogfight they were in tonight against St. Louis. They got to fight. If they score on a 5-on or the 4-minute power play, who knows? That probably doesn't go to overtime. They've got to find a way to get that power play going. I think the penalty kill is going to be okay, Kyle. I do. I think the penalty kill will be all right. The power play's got to get going. It really does.
Well, the penalty kill just doesn't rely on things that have been problematic for them. It's not about puck movement. It's about holding the zone and playing tough down low and all of those things and effort. And I'm seeing effort. It's not the sum of the parts. So we're taking a fairly positive tone here tonight. They beat the lowly St. Louis Blues, but it's two incredibly important points, and giving up the point to St. Louis means nothing to them. What's the conversation in the dressing room tonight with Berube? Is he also just focusing on the positive here and trying to get these guys believing in themselves again?
Something we can build off, men, going forward. Here's what I liked about the game tonight. Joe Wall, stand up. You're to be saluted. Willie Nylander, you felt bad in the beginning of the game because you put a puck in our net. I loved your response. You went right to Joe Wall. You tapped him on the pads, said sorry about that. That's a sign of teamwork. John Tavares, you logged big minutes. You won big faceoffs, and you made a huge play at the end of the game. Thanks a lot, old man. Make it funny. Make the guys laugh. I think there's so much you can build off of tonight with this group. Jacob Quillen, thrilled to death to have you up from the Marlies. We think you're going to continue with us. We love the way you play. Now finish some plays off. Easton Cowan, well done. Way to continue to evolve as a player. So many things you can build on as a coach coming out of this game.
Yeah, back to Easton Cowan for a second here. I saw some stuff from him that I really liked tonight. Without all of the other big guns on the ice, I saw him taking on the challenge himself a little bit more and pressing plays and doing some of the fancy stick work that he's been known for at the level down from the NHL, and just taking it to the NHL. And like what I said with Domi, he played with a different level of confidence tonight. Like, hey, I can be a difference maker for a team that needs me right now. That's the impression I got from him tonight, even though he didn't end up scoring a goal.
We don't rehearse this. I completely agree. And here's the only concern I had, though, Kyle, going into overtime. He had a couple turnovers at the offensive blue line when he was trying to force the issue in the third period. And I was like, oh, man, I wonder if Coach Berube is going to put him out or not. But he did. He put him out, and Easton tried to make a difference. Sure. And I thought that was really good coaching by Craig Berube and his staff to get him back on the ice and to get things going. So I like the fact he's trying to make things happen. I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Absolutely. And that's a completely acceptable mistake from someone playing their 15th NHL game. If a Nyes or whoever makes that same type of play, then he's maybe sitting a few shifts, because that's not acceptable at that level. But I really like that you pointed out the bad with the good there. It's just balance with this kid right now, but he looks like he belongs in the NHL, and I hope he has the opportunity to see a lot of ice time this season. I want to just switch to St. Louis here for a second, because I don't get to see a lot of their games, Pierre. I thought Jordan Kyrou was all over the ice tonight. He's a fantastic hockey player. He played with a chip on his shoulder, it seemed.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's in love with the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that's okay. They had a relationship for a little while in St. Louis. You move on. Don't take it personal. If I'm Craig Berube, I'm not taking it personal. And I think hopefully Jordan Kyrou, after tonight's game, is over it as well. But the truth is that I look at Jordan and the way he skates. He's such a good skater, and he can dominate the puck. There's some inconsistencies in his game that still haven't been filtered out, even though he scores almost 30 goals every year. It's amazing to watch him. St. Louis is probably going to start to move some people. I would imagine sooner, Kyle, rather than later, based on where they are in the standings. And things just can't turn around for them. They can't get any traction in the standings. So I would imagine at some point they're going to start to move some bodies out.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation they find themselves in, but they seem to be a franchise on the brink of rebuilding, and it seems like it's much needed. I again, talking to Dan Rosen today about the goaltending situation for Team Canada, it feels like Binnington's trapped in St. Louis right now, because his skill is not being reflected in his numbers this season. But how much of that is his fault? I just can't place a lot of that on his shoulders, because he is an elite goaltender, and he will be on Team Canada unless he's injured, I would figure. But before we look ahead to Thursday, Pierre, do you have any more notes from tonight's game?
No, but I just wanted to touch on Binnington and Easton Cowan. Binnington, I would agree with you, will be on Team Canada. I don't know if he'll beat out Logan Thompson or not to start the tournament, but we'll see how that goes. In terms of Easton Cowan, I want to share this with our listeners because I think it's a great story. when I worked with Scotty Bowman, we had a lot of really high skilled players in Pittsburgh. And one day I just asked him, because I was coaching our defense in Pittsburgh, I said, what'd you do with Phil Housley when you had him in Buffalo? Because I was just a young guy about to turn pro as a player. And I saw him make a lot of mistakes as an 18-year-old. And Scotty said, I told him to keep doing it because I knew someday he was going to take charge of games. And those mistakes that he was making as an 18 and 19-year-old player, he wasn't going to be making those mistakes when he was 21, 22, 23. And Phil ended up being a Hall of Fame player. So I think just for the fans out there, young players, skill players in particular, they're going to make mistakes. But Easton Cowan, you could see there's a beauty to his game. There's a skill level to his game. He's going to be a really good Toronto Maple Leaf. He really will be.
Okay, Pierre. Well, let's look ahead now. And I just pulled up the Leafs schedule. Oh boy. It doesn't look.
Well, let's just get to Montreal on Saturday. Then we can go, oh boy. So, yeah, they've got Columbus coming up on Thursday that is losing in Winnipeg right now. Then they're in Montreal for a Saturday night showdown. And Montreal's, hit or miss right now just because they're in an injury situation conundrum, just like Toronto is. You look at Caden Gooley's a massive loss for them. Kirby Dock's a big loss for them. They haven't had stability in goal, a lot like Toronto. So they got some injury situations in Montreal that aren't really healthy for them either. So, if you can get past Columbus and you go into Montreal and you keep it tight and you get some points out of that, then you head into that trepidation that you're talking about with the schedule.
It's a very, very difficult schedule coming up. But again, this team is not, I can look ahead. You can look ahead. This team has to be playing one game at a time now.
Yes.
Get guys back from injury. Hopefully Nyes is back on the ice Thursday. It appears as though Matthews looked pretty good on the skate this morning. Whether he'll be back Thursday or Saturday or even further into the future, we don't know. But they have to take this one game at a time. And these are winnable games coming up for reasons you mentioned. Columbus could be tired. Montreal's hurt. They have Columbus again the next night, I believe, immediately following. The next game, it's Wednesday of next week in Columbus. Yep. It's a tough stretch, but it's one game at a time, and this team should be able to play with these other hockey teams.
Well, you hope so. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I think they will start to get some players back. I think Lawton will be back. I think there's a good chance Matthews will be back. I'm surprised if Matthew Nyes isn't back sooner rather than later. Once you start to get the slotting down and guys start to feel more comfortable, then you can go. One of the biggest things they got to do is they got to get a better puck movement out of their own zone. And if they're not going to get that, they need Chris Tanev back. Tanev's a big loss on the back end.
He's a big loss. They're having trouble moving the puck out of their own end and gaining the zone at the other end of the ice. That's a deadly combination. And if they can't correct those two problems, they may not even make the playoffs because that's how hockey is played now, unfortunately for them. But these are correctable problems, Pierre. And if they have the personnel on the ice, they can do it. It's just a matter of getting these guys healthy and getting them all playing a full 60 minutes each and every night.
Agreed, 100%. The one they didn't mail it in tonight. I was concerned. I'm going to tell you the truth, Cal. I was concerned based on the comments from the general manager today. I was concerned that there was going to be a woe is me, and the guys were going to feel sorry for themselves. I saw a different team than I was expecting. They punched back. They didn't quit. They could have been all disjointed after the Nylander own goal, but they weren't. They pushed back and they gave a poop. Their gave a poop meter was pretty high tonight. So I like that. I like that a lot from them. It shows they got some character, some chutzpah, and they care. They care.
It's one game at a time for this Toronto Maple Leaf hockey team right now. On behalf of Pierre McGuire, my name is Kyle Andrew. You've been watching a post-game reaction show. Toronto Maple Leafs win in overtime, grab a much-needed 2 points, 3-2 versus the St. Louis Blues. You've been watching Toronto Sports Rush, brought to you by Bet Rivers.